comfortable when I'm on this side. Yeah, I'm no stranger to this folks in the south. And everybody wants to know me here. Anybody who don't know me, would you raise your hands, please? I saw somebody raise their hand halfway. I know who it is. There's a lady in black there. Yeah, she raised her hand. Yeah. Yeah, it's a privilege to be here. And I'm always, whenever I'm here, the whole environment is a happy one. When I look back on my times here, with the folks in South, my best days in ADRA was on this side. It's funny, not the north, not the central, but South. And ADRA began, I remember how this whole thing started. Sister Swan called, I remember she called it concerning, you remember that volcano eruption and was in Ibarra. That is my first contact with it. But I could hear in her voice the excitement to do something. And that was all we needed to get going. When we got together, it's amazing how things begin to flow. I wasn't a rich man, didn't have much resources. But one thing, Sister Swan always showed me concern. I remember one time I've been doing a workshop and I'm bringing on material from NEMA, National Emergency. What they call it now? ODP, right? So I'm on my way now, I brought it. Then the workshop started. And almost at the end of the workshop, she came to me and she said, Maurice, how are you managing? Things rough for me, but I woke in. How are you managing? And she dipped her hand in a purse and handed me some money that lasted me for a couple of days. You know, she wouldn't realize how much, what a booster that was for me. It just helped me to continue going in the work. I mean, when I was in ADRA, I had a telephone bill in 1998, $50 a month, and I did not have a telephone number. I would walk 2 miles to Chinchin Junction, those who know where the police station is, to make a phone call concerning ADRA, the office, and then walk the 2 miles back home. Not complaining, but now I can see the blessings. You see, whatever you sow, you reap it. Yeah, whatever you sow, you will get some reaping. And you can't do wrong without God blessing you. I didn't complain in those days. So those were my happy moments. I have stories to tell that I can share with you from now until the sun goes up. But we have to get into the matter of the business for today. I have here that the last time I was around, there was no pandemic. There was no mask. There was no social distancing. And now you realize that the world has changed forever. It's not going back anymore. It's not going back. And I'm seeing on the horizon unemployment. It's coming. And it's affecting the young folks. There's a church in Central where young folks who have degrees are losing their jobs. One young elder, he's an accountant who was sent home. You see, things are changing rapidly. In 2020, January 2020, I was asked church on the East-West corridor to do a workshop for a couple of days. And I'm carrying on my work. That is January 2020. So I'm preparing all my work for this workshop. That time the pandemic was not here, or whatever it was. Whatever was happening was January 2020. So I'm preparing all my work for this workshop. That time the pandemic was not here, or whatever it was. Whatever was happening. But within a year and a half, we're going to be back at the same point. So I'm preparing this program, and something hit me very strongly, that the nature of this work is changing. I had no other evidence except what I was hearing in the news, but there's a strong impression that the nature of this work is changing. And 2 months later, we had lockdowns, serious lockdowns. In fact, the lockdowns was, I don't know if you recognize it, but the lockdowns to me was centered around attacking the church, because in one of the statements I heard that when you come to church, you're not supposed to sing. Anybody remember that? That was a directive. That was a directive. Those who come to church, you're not supposed to sing. And sing is part of praise. Serious part of praise. But I'm making a point here before we go into the nitty-gritty. I expect the world is going to get a government or governments similar to communism. What is happening now? You check every country. They are giving you instruction and you're not supposed to question it. We're going to get a system of government worldwide that is very similar to communism. You don't own any property. You're going to lose your children. In fact, you can hear the Pope saying that education has to change. They're going to lose the ability to share with their children. And when you get communism, communism does not like Christianity. You may escape with the right-wing fascists. You may give the church a break. They are harsh, but communism do not like Christianity. Seriously don't like Christianity. And once the system gets into place, and you could see it coming, we are asked to take you're almost directed to take the vaccine. You know that. Whether we like it or not, the instruction is that we all have to do it. In other words, you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. But yet the church has to operate. Our church, the Christian church, has to operate like Christians in such an environment. Isn't that interesting? What we fail to do in time of peace, we will now have to do it under repression. I'm sharing this with you because I see it coming. And those who know David Gates, anybody ever heard about David Gates? David Gates? You know David Gates? Yeah, he shared some stories with me. And one of the stories came out of Ukraine. There's a place called Ukraine. Anybody knows where Ukraine is? It's in Europe. Formerly it was under communism. Russia became communism in 1917. And Ukraine became communistic in 1931. And it started time. But I want you to understand how communism does its thing. and then suddenly they did crack down. Very hard, very sharp. They did that in Kyiv, which is the capital of Ukraine. But the Christians there, God spoke to them 2-3 years before him. Those who faithful Christians, he instructed them to get at a time. When they gather together in the groups for 4 hours, sometimes, from their whole night to pray, and God will guide them and lead them. The church has to operate in these circumstances. The church just has to operate, and God will always find a way. I'm sharing that with you so that you can start thinking, because things will start happening, but you still have to operate. You are sent there as Christian, and you will have to operate under these strange circumstances. So, here is the communists cracking down on Christianity. These farmers, many of them were farmers, and in fact they were well off. But before, God is telling them this, you all have to leave home. Go to the next city. He gave them all the instructions in so many. This is very interesting. They did not receive instructions to do the formal method of evangelism and duty, house to house. They were impressed. They were so impressed by God. And here he's going to give instruction to this group or to these 2. That person is ready for Bible study. Whenever they leave home, they know exactly where they were going and who they were going to. See, God gets into the picture. God gets into the picture. And in the communist system, one of the things in a communist system is that they produce starvation. Whatever they do, in order to control, this is one powerful ingredient to use. Because it affects children most of all with starvation. But our command was given from God, Isaiah 58:7. What does it say? 58:7. God gave instructions. And that's for ADRA and community services for the church. And that. Did anybody read it? Yes. 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 Right. So you see, we realize the attack is on food, shelter, clothing. Either one or food, shelter, and clothing. God knows why he said that so many years ago. We need to consider food, shelter, and clothing. And recently I've been looking at this question about food. Not so much clothing and shelter, but food. In the news a couple of weeks ago, that young girl who was killed, Barat, do you remember the name? Do you remember that name, Barat? Barat was killed. And the supposed murderer his, one of his friends was being interviewed, I think it's by the Express. And something very interesting came out of that conversation. And while he was in school, the friend said that many times he comes to school without food. Never ate in the morning, came straight to school. No food at home. I'm not showing you how criminals are forming. He comes to school having not eaten anything that morning. And find himself in a dull company who would probably offer him some money or food for a price. But he said initially when he met him, he said he was a very nice guy. Quiet. Never used to give trouble. But he used to come to school continually without food. See, the devil knows how to cause problems. Those are the crimes you have. You know, there are some areas that are noticeable. There's always problems with food. folks who see them legal will not believe that they're going very far. Probably going to raise it up somewhere. But on the train of the cart, there was a man steering. And as they traveled along the road, they got the impression from the Lord that they make a right turn and take a shortcut. And as they did that, the KGB, which is the Russian Secret Service, 5 months, went to the house and waited at that house until 5 a.m. in the morning. But here's the reason why God told them to take the cow. They will milk the cow and they will have some milk. You realize how God thinks? And they were able to journey until they reached the next stop. On cereal and milk, all there on the same cow. So while the cow is grazing and producing milk, the cereal you get close and God will give you direction. It's amazing how you do it. It's amazing how it does stuff. And they were able to go from village to village. But God had them in groups. The Christians who were serious had them in groups. Most of them reached the Chinese border with Russia. And things were difficult. Things were really difficult for those families. Some of them decided to return. So under pressure. Some of us will return. Because they said, if I returned, it was better when we were home. We had food, we had this. And when they returned home with the kids, the Russians took the kids from them and put them in Siberia. That's jail. Most of them died. So I hope you see that we have to be in tune with God all the time. Our life may not be comfortable. But I want us to look at these things: hunger, shelter, food. And things happen and they cross into China. They were on the Chinese border. And the Russians military made them work and made them increase law strong. They really waited until war intervened one night. And there was a fire and smoke. The smoke was so severe that the Russian Secret Service and the military run from the fire. And it gives the Christians an opportunity to run from the fire the other direction into China and the escape. They continue to reach Canada. Their descendants are now in Canada living. But I want you to bear this in mind that when things get rough like this, small groups will always work. Small groups. To make the service get to the small groups. I bring the small groups. We had small groups at one time. Sister Swan knows about it and all those going on, but they know. Small groups. For prayer, but also for service. Because the attack will be heavy and you need support. You see, one of the reasons for small groups is to produce fellowship. Our church as it is, we have a problem with fellowship. We go to doctrine. We're very strong on doctrine, and even that we get weaker. But we're not strong on fellowship. But in small groups of 12, and God is allowing 12, you notice you can assemble with 12, and you're supposed to be alright. 12, that number 12, Sister Swan. That's something we worked with before.
Yeah.
But I want you to bear that in mind as we look into this whole situation about and be loving to each other. Small groups produce a fellowship. We show love to each other. When there's a need, one has a need, and the rest can help and supply, you do it. When the children I was raising my kids, they were like 12 and 13, 14 years old. I had to learn something the hard way. So the nearest house to me, where I live now, is that there was half a mile away. And I planted a little garden. Didn't have a beetle.
This connects directly into a USB.
Didn't have a beetle at all. So I decided to get some money.
I can't change it now.
So I asked one brother from church who had a pickup truck. He said, "Look, I'm getting 3 bags of money. Could you help me connect it for me until it goes 4 or 5 bags, whatever it was at the time?" He agreed to go with me and picked it up and brought me to the nearest point, but the road was very bad. And when he took off the money from the truck, he watched me my eyes straight, and he said to me, "Don't ever ask me to love you. I'm saying how we need fellowship. I mean, it really crushed me. Don't ever ask me to love you." And this is what causes problems with people in the church too. Lenin, remember the communist leader called Lenin from Russia? He was thrown out of his house, shelter, in London during winter, to not pay rent, in the hideaway. And when he left, he found refuge in the circle of communism. That's how Russia came from. Simply, we have a duty to grow to each other, fellowship. And not because you're in one unit, you can have somebody in another unit. Right? You could help. Because it does something like what Sister Swan did to me. She kept me going on. That little token that she gave, she would say that token, but it wasn't a token. It was more than that. That how we do, from time to say, I'm very honest, I'm like in the family. I can ask a question. Over the years, how long do you know Mrs. Swan? You have a calculator with you? It may help you. Couple of years back. But I'm saying that when we look at this question about being in units, we will see how important being in units are and the role of youth community services. And some people like to be in community services, some like to not. When we look at it. Now, if anybody knows, is the acronym ADRA? I don't know what it stands for. ADRA, anybody? Let me try the young one. ADRA. What does it stand for? All right. Let me help you.
So this not
Adventist
connected to anything?
Development
No.
Relief Agency. So ADRA has 2 roles.
This is no good.
They are good at development projects, or they can initiate it, and emergencies. Adventist Development Relief Agency. Right? They are at the forefront when there is disaster for the church. And there was a time when ADRA was doing very well in Trinidad. In so much that I remember the head of National Emergency, he would always call for ADRA. He says, "I know when I call you, you all will come and supply the need on time." He doesn't understand how the work goes on behind the scenes. We had a situation in near to that place they call where that cinema was in Korea. What do you know that cinema? Hey, you know that village there? Yet it came on. The water flood for days upon days. I remember getting a call to supply food, clothing to that community. Because most of them lost their food, whatever was under 6 feet. Because the rivers are not far from carrying main river. So I left home 7 o'clock in the morning. Not a cent in the pocket. Don't know where I'm going to get resources from. Trust me, when God puts something in your lap, don't ask me, just keep moving. Don't ask a question. Don't say, boy, see me, I can't handle it. God put it on you. You know where the resources from. God knows where the resources coming from you. So I left home. At that time my boss was what's the name of the director? Not Aura.
How many of these are
single moments.
One will complete.
So I ended up in
You could try downloading the app.
South Carolina.
You could try from.
Just looking around trying to find some source to comply with this. If you put my pocket upside down, pocket will stand up straight, so that's what you need. Not a simple time. So Sister Sibla and I, we had a good working relationship. Good working relationship. Good. And we're trying to figure out a way, but national emergency, which is now over the PM, expecting us to bring stuff. 6 o'clock in the afternoon, nothing. We went to a grocery store, low cost, and they said, listen, if you give us the assurance that we will have the cash so and so, we'll give you the supply. I had no assurance. We went back to the office, and at 7 p.m., our Sahara shows up. The grocery store is at 8 o'clock at 7 p.m. And the grocery we're talking about is in Central. I'm at Senegal State. And we pleaded with him, and he said, listen, we don't have ready cash yet. But I can guarantee tonight, $1,000. And in those days, $1,000 was $1,000. If you give me $1,000 now, I can make sure that there's no hole in the box. But $1,000. And we took off. Go to the grocery and start to pull stuff from the shelf. And when the same guy can deliver it. And the next day, the director of NEMA said, he said, I know you are my Lord. He said, I know you already perform. So when God puts something on you, don't ask where and why. Just keep moving. You know, sometimes when you sit down and you never God put something in your life. People around you, children around you. You don't have the resources, God will provide the resources. They don't have food, you provide the food. And God is doing it in these modern times, you know. Some of you already have heard the story of manna falling from heaven. Anybody know that? In Angola, right now? I have the video here with me, you know, where manna falling from heaven. And all they were told, listen, when you're hungry, think about it in Angola. Starvation. And Somebody advise them, pastor advise
One
them.
up there.
Whatever you need to pray and ask for faith. Take it seriously. And manna start falling from him in large amounts. And they were able to make whatever they make and nourish themselves. But we have to look at nourishment when they do with food. We have to look at nourishment when they're feeding the kids, feeding yourself. Because a lot of food is being eaten. It has nothing in it. So you get nothing. As a technician, I work even about the microwave oven. When you put food in the microwave oven, it kills everything. So you eat, yes, very full. You know? So manna coming from heaven that has all the basic amino acids, has everything. God is supplying. So I want to consider that when you begin to form in units. And I'm not one to fanfare. I'm not a person that loves fanfare. I just, I will start something. I don't like, you don't have to put no big banner for me. No. I can start without fanfare. And I will tell you something. When you start without fanfare, you do more work. You know, fanfare take out the heat. It takes out the heat. And you do very little. And that happened in Ukraine. When they were doing missionary work, as the guy from Ukraine said, he says, we did not do it like how the Americans do it, where you have a whole month of advertising your venture, what you're going to do, whole month. No, we will just go the same day as led by God. And people will be drawn. Same day. So fanfare is not something that fanfare slows you down. Trust me, it slows you down. Just get up and move. Alright. Let's look at the roles of community services and ADRA. Community services is referred to as the hand and feet of ADRA. Right? Community services is the hand and feet. Ready food distribution, community services. ADRA will do the disaster part of it. The whole funding is different. The church will fund community services. ADRA raises its own funds. By donations. They raise their own funds, they have their own projects. Oh, okay, ADRA will do a project. There's a bridge that is broken down, and the folks in that area is having a problem accessing the main road. ADRA will look at the project, do an estimation, get some technical people, and will seek to raise funds for that project. Now, community service funding on the side. ADRA will also supply community services with what they need them, but they're raising funds. For everything, disaster response, disaster management. But their roles, even though they're doing humanitarian work, the lead agency for the community day-to-day operation is really community services. ADRA sometimes, my source is so small, was doing kitchen and all those stuff. But community services role in community. A house loses a roof. Community service, a house burns. Community service will help. Community service is the lead agency. ADRA will assist. Get the resources, get the skills. So in each segment, I'm suggesting that you develop a set of groups of 12. Let me give you some guidelines. You can take your notes. You have 12 people in the group. 12 people. They form a group. I picked the number 12 because it's biblical. I just thought 12 disciples. What else we have 12? We have 12 days. What else is 12? Any other 12s? Huh? Well, 12. 12 tribes. 12. Now I want you to know when a group is formed in 12, that group can be divided into two sixes. It could also be divided into 3 fours. And it could also be divided into 4 trees. So if you're handling a disaster, you're on site. Or you're handling, when you go in, it's slow. You split, you could go into 3 fours or 4 trees. In other words, 3 persons are managing, while the others are taking it easy, or by rotation, or into 2 6. 1 6 is active, the others resting, and they rotate. So that number 12, 2 6, 3 fours, 4 trees. For both ADRA and community services. And in the 12 now, I've given the name, I've given a portfolio to every person in the 12. So you're not just 12 people coming together, but everybody has a responsibility. All right, number 1, you have the leader of the group. A leader is not a dictator. As leader is to coordinate the activities of the unit. And you need somebody with special leadership qualities to handle the group. Somebody with courage, patience. Of course, must have mercy. You could find folks like that here in San Fernando. I'm sure you have plenty of them. Somebody said something? You have a few. You have a few. You want those people for leadership. Because there is something about a leader that keeps everybody together. Number 2, take a note, number 2. Number 2 is a chaplain. The chaplain is the second leader in the group. So if you're going to divide into 2 6s, the chaplain takes 1, leader takes 1, 2 6s. But the chaplain is responsible for the spiritual tone of the unit. And that's a must. You know, what we found out, that a lot of our young people are doing degrees, they're doing well at degrees and skills. Spending 8 hours somewhere every night to get a degree. But they're not reading the Bible and the Spirit of prophecy. Just not reading it. So when confronted with an issue, you have problems. And you see the Bible and the Spirit of prophecy, that's our guidance to all that we do. When you want to make a decision, but you base on the Word of God, the Bible and the Spirit of prophecy. I tell you, I know folks doing master's degree. Don't read. Some of them never read Great Controversy, Adventist Home, messages to young people, but they have a degree, master's degree. And that's a serious thing. So the chaplain, that's his job. Make sure that the spiritual tone of the unit, encourage them to read. Don't force nobody to read. That'll be counterproductive. Encourage them to read. But when the pressure gets rough, what keeps you is the truth in it. You may want to run according to Jeremiah. The truth was down to his bones. When he wanted to give up, the truth was down to his bones. Reading keeps you by the Spirit of God. And if young people can start to read, because they're going to be your replacement. Society is trying to separate the old This pandemic makes it very clear. But young people have something to contribute. But you know the elderlies have something to contribute to. Don't dispel the fact that them old folks can't do nothing. They were here before you. And they can watch a situation and tell you, don't go down that road. From experience with it. Because they passed through it. You'll be doing some things that no, they will give you an advice. Look at it from this angle. And my favorite illustration of how the young and the old will work together, I use a cutlass. In America they say machete. Now we don't know what that means. Have you ever used a cutlass that doesn't have a handle and it's sharp? What happens? Have you ever used a cutlass without a handle? You grab it with your hands and use it. Have you ever used it? What happens? Huh? You get problems with your hand, right? Your hand pains and you don't go very far. Now the blade of the cutlass, as the young people know, but the handle is the seniors. And you need both of them. Of course, the handle can't work by itself, but you're getting nothing done. I tell you, you need the handle. I mean, sometimes I agree. I don't have the strength as I had before. But some mornings I get up and I feel like killing. And there's some mornings I get up and I feel just like me. Feel to go nowhere. I might get up in the morning and say, no, but I'm doing nothing today. That's when you're elderly. But elderly folks have something to say. Every one of them here. I mean, we were not perfect in our day. We made mistakes. We made errors. But because of those errors, we understand life a certain way. And we can tell the young folks, don't go down that road. And you see young folks who hang out with intelligent older people, they go very far. Young folks, you watch them. You're looking for a husband or wife, you see the sister hanging out with that senior person who has some integrity and respect. You can start to tap that. Vice versa with the male. Even see him hanging around with a couple of deacons who have no respect for women. Don't go there. He will dig you out. See, there is something about the influence of the elder. But very important, we need the young folks with us. So, the chaplain's duty, make sure the tone, spiritual tone, he should be a praying person, one that has courage. Because if he breaks down, everybody else goes with it. Number 3 and 4. You ready to write? 3 and 4. I can put 2 set of people there, but first aiders. 2 first aiders. You need 2 first aiders. One assisting you. Because when you're reaching a crisis, somebody needs to know first aid. And I'm finding out very helpful in these days. A little medical missionary. You know, anyone encourages medical missionary. With this pandemic, thank God I knew God gave me a little knowledge about this pandemic, you know. And it started in my home. My wife didn't have COVID, but I remember one night, she was coughing. In fact, for like 11 days, she was coughing as if there is no tomorrow. And no matter what I gave her, she's coughing all throughout the night. And I remember passing near the refrigerator and the thought just flashed on me. And I said, Phil, come, let me give you this. And it's simple, I'll give it to you now. I brought water to a boil in a bowl. I placed 6 tablespoons of sea salt. I placed 6 pegs of garlic. I crushed a peg of garlic in the sea salt with the hot water. And I took 6 drops of eucalyptus oil in the water. Take a towel, put it over your head, inhale until the water gets cold. The next morning, that was it. She could have sing for 5 minutes without stopping. These simple things in crisis, if you know it, it'll be helpful. And those who know my son, that happened in 2019. My son, those who know my son, he knows my son, right? You know Pastor Morris? Young Pastor Morris. He was coming from Hoover one night, remember that Thursday night. And he called me on the phone. He said, Daddy, I'm not feeling well. Pray for me. He and Pastor, and he said, pray for me. I know something was wrong. He said, I'm having problem breathing. He went home. I called him on Friday morning. I said, how are you doing, son? I can't breathe. I'm having problem breathing. And I'm bringing up hole with blood in it. Now, this COVID was here since 2019, in the later part of 2019. And I went into my garden, the pharmacy. I had a pharmacy, and I took off by my son a Friday night. And I give him his stuff, make him inhale right away. Then he did that twice. That was it. It's gone. And it's good for when you have sinus, asthmatic. You try it. It's simple remedy. The first aiders will have to learn that. In fact, everybody needs to learn. Simple remedies. Salt. What else? Who remember? Garlic and eucalyptus oil. And if you have orange peel, let's drink in hot water. You cover your head, inhale. Inhale. It goes right into the lungs until the water gets cold. And you can do that for every night until probably 2-3 nights. And with that same remedy, I sent it up the road in the US. There was one man who was feeling so sick. And the person who I gave it to, I said, give him that to use that. Tell him don't go to the hospital because he's not coming back. And he stayed home and used it, and he's all right, he's good. Simple remedies. The old folks know that well. Little things to do this and little things to do that. So the first aiders, apart from learning how to do the bandages and whatnot, learn simple remedies, basic remedies. I'm not asking you to do surgery. No, that's not for you. Learn simple remedies. All right, that's 3 and 4. Number 5 is the secretary of the unit. That is the one that does all the documentation. You know, we were all there from 9 to 5, okay, and people came visiting. We treated, so she's documenting everything. She's a custodian of data. And if anything has to be kept secured, cash or whatever it is, she's in charge on the lock and key to keep that. She's also going to have data concerning people who may be lost. In a disaster, people get lost. And it says, no, this will be looking for Jane or Harry or whatever. So she will keep the files concerning the lost person. So when those who go into the field, they'll keep an eye out for those persons that we're looking for as a secretary. All right, slide number 5. Where are we now? What's the next number? 6. We have some grub wardens. You know what a grub warden? Huh? The cook. Those who in charge of the food, the grub warden, that person must understand food and nutrition. Because I said before, you could eat a whole plate of food and get nothing in it. Nothing from it. Just plain nothing. You just eat food. KFC, you could go there and eat. Get 4 or 5 legs. And don't feel you're getting nutrition from that, you know. You don't get belly full. KFC. Somebody says KFC is what? Is for what? Kitchen for foolish Christians? I don't know. Eh? Oh, killing foolish Christians. See how many you can take a lot of Israel. But whatever you prepare, you have to look at the nourishment. For those of staff, in the 12, as well as those you're feeding, nutrition. And when you're feeding children, and I want to suggest that they start looking at the schools, including your school. There are always children in schools who don't have no food for lunch. I think Sister Swan was doing a good job at that. ADRA was doing a good job at that. There are children in schools who will come to school and do not have food to eat. If you want to liaise with the principal and carry about 10 boxes, there are 10 children here who normally come to school without food, and you can supply that. These are little things I can only suggest. I don't dictate, because it must come from inside. It must come from inside. So the grub ones has to understand food and hygiene and food storage. Food storage. Then the next 2 we have is the quartermasters. Folks who will be trained in managing the storage of equipment. But I find it very often that you could go to a church 5 months after they get equipment and nobody knows where this is, what that is. In fact, when I left here to go to the United States, I left 2 dinghies. I left some first aid mannequins to practice on, some first aid kits. I left some rolls of taps, and after a while, nobody knew where nothing is. Nobody knew. If you want people to give, you want people to give accountability. People will give you. When you can show by your documents and by your president of supply that here we still have the 4 rolls with us, or we have used 3 rolls of the tap, and we have 1 balance. People will give. Same thing for food. If you could show accountability, people just love that, especially those who have. They will give, but you must show accountability. And I'd like to encourage that. It's a simple process, you know. The item must have a number, its location, its condition, and the quantity. So when you use 1 or 2 items from that quantity, you just subtract. The balance is there. Subtract until. And when you're almost exhausted, it's either fresh time to order or to make new requests. People will want to see that in the giving. How far are we? What's the number? You go to visit a home, and also with community services. You go to visit a family, you have to be trained how to deal, how to visit with people who have a need. But you don't go to a home. First thing is, whenever you go to a home to visit, always go well dressed. It shows respect for the home that you're going to. And when you sit in that home, don't be twitching your nose like you're smelling something strange, you know, something like there. And it's children in the house, you know, they do this stuff and they send leaders, but in your face you can see it's not KFC eating. You know how the face turns out. You can't present that because people look at you, you know. While you're interviewing them, they look at you, you know. They stare you straight in the eye. And when you go to that home, you go to that home without carrying with you any prior information about the person. Whenever you go to visit a home, somebody will say, "Do I see them?" Don't go with that, even though you were told it. Go like if you don't know what it is. Because if somebody tells you something about Jack Jones or that family, you go in there with a bias already. You started with a bias off the bat. So you go there with this bias and you're ready to take action in favor of what you heard. When you go to visit, you don't go with that bias. Or you go there and see something completely different. Children run about in parks, whatever it is, and place, you know, when children are, papers drop here, clothes here, you must be as pleasant and like if you're not smelling anything. Because you smell stuff, children are around, children playing. See them do stuff, see them do this. So the field investigators have to be trained in a certain way, and they must be confidential. Because information gathered must not be distributed. It's not food. The information that they gather is not food. So please don't distribute it. So that person has to be trained in that area. And we have people who could do that. It's just that whenever the time is ready for the training, we get folks to do it. So you have two field investigators who goes into the field, gather information. Sometimes you can't go into the field, but the news media could bring you up to date so you know, I won't send my people across to that village because it is impassable. In other words, before you send anybody out into the field, you must know or you must have information concerning the field where they're going. And we call that briefing. The person must be briefed, or the person must be briefed about what they're going to do. And when they return, there's something called debriefing. So when you debrief, they're giving you a report of their mission. So you have that on file, Madam Secretary. The debriefing. So anybody else is going in that area will consult the file on that area as part of the information before going out again. So you don't go helter-skelter. That's a special training for investigators. How to investigate, what to say, what not to say, what to look for, right? And I think the last one we are on is the public relation person. PRO, or I sometimes refer it to as a liaison officer, because that person has to be able to liaise with their unit and the other units, or even with the Red Cross, working alongside the Red Cross, if you have to work. That person lays with the Red Cross. Not everybody lays. And anybody that has to give a report, public relation wise, must not come from everybody. A liaison officer must have permission from the church body to speak, but anybody to speak on behalf of the disaster or the whatever is a liaison officer. And that person must be able to use a camera, learn some basic techniques. You know, you're taking pictures, always make sure, simple remedy, make sure that you don't face, the camera doesn't face the light. Always have the light behind your back. See, the light is on me, and the camera is on me. But if you do it the other way around, where you get the silhouettes, see an object, but it's dark. So always make sure your light source is at the back of you. And that's the last person. I don't know if you're interested in getting yourself into groups this evening, but let me take some questions from you at this time. Anybody with any questions? Any questions? No questions? From my young friends over there? No, I love to work with the young, you know, with the young folks. Yeah, I just love to work with them. Any questions? Anybody? Yes. Or first question. Because somebody give him a mic, so. Yeah, go ahead. All right, go ahead. Yeah. Yes. Yes. No, you had two grubs. Yes, two grubs. So you have two first aiders, you have two grubs, you have two field investigators, and you have two not PRO. Okay, thank you. You have two, those who handle quartermasters, one assisting the other. I didn't say that, but we need two quartermasters. Yeah. All right, that's a good observation. Yeah. That means he's listening, he's observing. Yeah, he should be what? What do you think we should put him as? He's very observant there. Field investigator, somebody says that? Huh? Yeah. Question, anybody else? Any questions? All right. You want to start a form units or you want to leave it for another day? Or do you want to pick the leaders now? Now remember, there are those folks who will be in community services, and there are those folks who will be in ADRA. And I would love to see in community service both young and old, like ADRA, both young and old. So could I leave that to you? And you'll figure it out? No answer? Where's Sister Swan? Huh? She just stepped out. Yeah, any more questions? All right, let me see if I can ask some young persons a question. It's going to be a simple question. My dear brother in that green shirt, what position will you like to be in? If ever they select you, what position will you like or you will enjoy doing? In the kitchen, grub, you want to be able to cook? Huh? A leader, okay. Now, don't be afraid, men, to be in the kitchen, you know. I always tell folks who don't shy from the kitchen. Because there's a saying that he who is in the kitchen is feel the heat. You ever heard that before? But I also tell you that he who is in the kitchen get to taste the food first. So, I mean, in the kitchen, yes, there's heat, but the chances of eating the food first is also there. Yeah, let me ask these two sisters right here. All right. Yeah, I have to ask a question. Could I see by the show of hands who wants to join ADRA? By the show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Anybody else young? We want both young and old. Because the thing about ADRA is that when something serious happens, the first person they're going to call is the ADRA folks. You get out, you cook, whatever it is, the first people going to be ADRA folks. And then community service comes in afterwards, after ADRA has set the table and get things going. So you have to be prepared to be trained and be able to respond at a moment's notice. Be prepared for that? So you always have a little backpack, a little, what do you call it? A knapsack. You always have it in the corner there to do something. And anything could happen anytime. Those who are in ADRA, they know that. Anything could happen anytime, any place. So those who are interested, you will see Sister Swan, and we can organize the training so that each portfolio will be addressed. Remember, the units are in 12 members per unit. Same thing for community services, but I would like to see community services also have some young folks too. Because after ADRA does its part, community service takes over, especially with the food distribution and whatnot. Question, anybody else? So you want to be leader, right? You see, I'm back at you again. You know, I'm just testing you already. You know. Yeah. So you could sit and talk. We'll sit and talk to see whether we'll advise you to go down that road or. I mean, I won't suggest you go in the kitchen. No. But chaplaincy, leadership, whatever. Huh? In the kitchen? Yeah, well, you think you like the kitchen? No, I know you're scared of apron and headgear and spoon and fork. I can cook, you know. I ain't afraid of the kitchen. I can make dumpling. I can make corn soup. That's a thing that you need to learn how to do. Corn soup is a very nutritious meal. Yes, Sister Swan. Huh? Yeah, yes. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Yes. 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 Right. Yeah. I'm glad you raised that. Yes. Yeah, I'm glad you raised that because I'm glad she raised that because that is what I always used to say. When you form your units and you're trained in your respective area, those who are cooks should teach the others in the unit their portfolio. Because there are times when they're going to be rotation. Or you may want to switch from one position to another. So when your unit is formed and you're training in different areas, what could happen at a meeting, whenever you have ADRA meeting or community service meeting, you could do it by rotation. For instance, the first aiders say, okay, we're going to teach you all first aid. So eventually everybody knows first aid. And another time, the grub wardens will teach you about cooking and nutrition. And then the quartermasters will teach their portfolio. Investigators, so eventually everybody knows how to do everything and could fall into place very easily. All right, I think it's now after 5. And if there are no more questions, I will hand it over to Sister Swan. And let me know if you're ready to continue from on this point. We'll push it. Sister Swan? I have the video. I don't know if you have time to see the video on manna falling in Angola. It's not a long video, but I have the flash drive here with me. Do you have a tech that could show it?
What I would like to find out right now is those persons who really want to join ADRA. If you could put up your hands so I could see, and it not only the young people, but other persons as well. I'm seeing four hands. 5. Okay. So I can't, there are some members here who are members of ADRA already. So I'm not looking at those people, I'm looking at the new persons. So I'm seeing 2 hands here and 2 hands over there, and one in the back. So that gives us 5 persons. All right? Nobody else? Okay. All right, thanks. All right, hands down. Thanks. So we'll work with the 5 persons, and well, our normal ADRA people, some of them do not have on the ADRA jersey, but it doesn't mean they are not members. All right? I think Brother Morris did a good job of explaining what ADRA is all about. And we worked our units with that same setting, with the grub wardens. The Will Friday used to do most of the cooking down there, and she was a grub warden. We had the quartermasters. I know Kia was one of them. And so we have people who have worked in these places and can help us all with ADRA. Why I'm asking for young blood, a lot of us are getting older, and we want to see some younger faces. I have already told Brother Ian Griffith all the time, you are going to be the next leader. So I am going to be helping you because I want you to be the next leader. Say, okay? Because you have to groom somebody. And I want us to not do what was done to me. Nobody wants leadership. People just want to tag along. But Jesus asks us to be leaders. So I was really the chaplain. And I've held that post for nearly all the time until the conference placed the ADRA leader on the church board to give some spunks to the ADRA program. So my name will always be called as the leader. But then you can't get a chaplain because the person still don't want to take the post, because if anything happened to me, they will have to fall in line. Jesus wants us all to be leaders, not followers only. We need to be leaders for Jesus. We need to be able to stand up and be counted, especially young people. Stand up and be counted. And the more you know about the workings of the church and what happens and the like, the better you'll be able to stand up for your faith and for the gospel. All right? Because then people won't be able to twist you around their fingers. When you stand your ground, you know what you are talking about. But that comes from what Brother Morris was talking about, God's word. We have too many young people who do not read their Bibles, who do not pray. They tell God a little thing in the morning and they go on and they come back. You have to be strong in the Bible. That's where we get our strength from. All right? So we have to work on that. Work on that.
As she mentioned about that truth, something just hit me and I want to share it with you before we turn on that video. I lived in California for 11 years. You hear me? Right, for 11 years. And I remember in the year 2006, I want you all to listen to this, young people especially, right? My brother, who is an economist, somebody who knows about economics and business and all that story. He knows it well. And he called me aside and he says, he's a nice brother to me. Very nice brother to me. And he put me to sit down. And he said, listen, brother. He called me by my nickname. I don't want to call my nickname here today. Everybody gonna know who I is there, nickname. So he said to me, he said, listen, I'm not sending you away from home. I'm not chasing you away from my home. Why not buy a house, as we have done? He said, this house we're living in here, he said, I paid $212,000 for this house. And now, after some 10 years, the house is now valued $600,000. He said, I could sell this house, pay off the bank, and go in another state and buy a house cash. Now, the truth is, it looked good, It's sounding good, But I remember, listen to this. I remember, it's a good thing I read it in the spirit of prophecy. Ellen White makes it clear, do not speculate in business. You see, as speculator, everything will come out good, you know. Put in this, everything comes out good. And that saved my neck, you know. Simply by what I read. If I didn't read that, I might have gotten caught. Do not speculate in business. She didn't say don't do business, you know. Go ahead and do business, but don't speculate. Because speculator, it never comes out bad, you know. When you start to say, okay, if I put so much here, as my brother was doing, they were putting money in different shares here, and there's another name for it. When you put in money in different places, what you call that again? I heard somebody with it. Investment, yeah. So they invest in these shares. My brother was putting shares in this business. You know, when the downturn came, he lost everything, you know. And the same house that was 600,000 when he spoke to me came down to 174,000. Less than what he paid for it 12 years ago. See, speculating. See, it's only God who knows the future, you know. Talk to him, and he'll give you guidance. So it just came to me, and I thought I should mention that. Reading is important, young people. When issues come, you could always... Have you ever read something and you're confronted with a situation, but for some reason, it ain't looking right. Something ain't feeling right. You know why? Because you read something. That's one.
Okay, so after we finish the meeting here, the persons who put their hands up and those who forgot to put it up but want to be a member, I'll take your names to the back and we will talk a little while on what we would do. Okay? All right, let them go.
As part of its program to the cities, the Seventh-day Adventist Church in the Southern Africa Indian Ocean Division, SID region, has targeted Luanda, Angola, as its major city of focus. Angola went through a terrible time during the civil war that lasted more than 20 years. But we thank God because the country is rebuilding and Angola is rated as one of the fastest growing economies of the world. It is indeed humbling to see the people of Angola thirsting for the Word of God. The story of Luanda for Christ in Angola would not be complete without the testimony of Sister Idalina Lenge, whose car was shot at by robbers as she was on her way to evangelize. The robbers shot at her from close range and stole all her belongings, including her Bible and the Luanda for Christ material. But we thank God because she escaped unhurt, a sign that miracles still do happen today.
It's a miracle that the sister is alive today. They shot at her car in her process with the materials for the program of Luanda for Christ in the evangelism process. But God protected her, and we thank God. These are some of the extraordinary experiences God is showing His power to protect His people, that the program will succeed here in Angola, Luanda for Christ.
I praise God for protecting my wife. If it wasn't His protection, my wife will be dead today.
I want to thank God that I'm alive today. On that fateful day, anything could have happened. I just came out of the bank empty-handed because the bank was full. However, the robbers watching me from afar thought I drew a lot of money because I was carrying materials and Bibles for Luanda for Christ campaign. I got into my car, driving to the evangelism site to deliver the Bibles and Luanda for Christ material. When the robbers opened fire on me, I just said, "Lord, save me." The bullet went through my window, missing me by a few centimeters, and went out through the passenger door. I must say I am blessed to be alive today.
The power of prayer should never be underestimated. In one of her writings, Sister Ellen White says, "We are not safe even for a minute without prayer." Making prayer a part of her lifestyle is what saved Sister Idalina Lenge from losing her life. As the work to win more souls in Angola continues, it is clear that God's hand is at play, and we praise Him for all the success that is taking place in Angola. By the end of this campaign in December, the Church expects to have baptized more than triple the number of new souls in Angola alone. The baptisms and miracles that are taking place in Angola regarding the Luanda for Christ campaign would not be complete without the mention of the manna that falls every Wednesday and Friday at the Namba Adventist station in the southern part of Angola. Manna has been falling in this drought-stricken area since 1945, and we praise God for providing to His people.
We have always had a poor harvest in this area, but God has always provided for His people. My sister can testify that they survived on manna when times were hard at the Namba Adventist Mission. Until today, people are still eating it.
Curiosity killed the cat, and so Sid Media's director, Noel Sibanda, visited the area in the southern part of Angola to get the first-hand information. And as they say, the proof of the pudding is in the eating.
Here we are at Nama Adventist Mission Station. We came, we saw, we smelled, we touched, and now I'm testing for the third time just to convince you that indeed this is manna from heaven. The taste, I can't describe it. It tastes of everything that I've ever eaten that is so good.
I've also come to taste the manna, and I can't really describe how it tastes like. It is like honey, it's like a cake. I really don't have words to describe how it tastes like. Exactly, I don't know how to describe it. I just know that it's white and it's sweet. But the real taste, I can't have anything to compare with.
This story of Namba, I've been just reading it in Storytime in Africa book. I taught my kids when they were growing with that story, and when we heard that, my kids heard that we are going to Angola, they asked me, "Mommy, is that the same place where manna was falling?" I said, "Yes, but it should be in Angola, but I don't know exactly where that place is." But when we came here in Angola, we inquired of the place. They said, yes, actually, even now, manna is still falling. And I'm happy that I've visited the place today. And I picked a few pieces of it. I tasted it. It's very nice. When you are eating it, it's like something mixed with sweet, and there is a good fragrance on it. So you cannot really explain the way it is, but it's a very nice food.
Wow, it has been really a great experience here because stories have been going all over. I have heard about it. I tried to Google about it. And of course, when I Googled it, I found a small piece by Signs of Times, which was documented there. But even after I saw it, there were still doubts from my colleagues that I informed about it. Well, this morning we've made it to come here, and I still can't believe that I'm here. And we've got a bit of it here. It's a bit hard. The text is hard. I think it has dried up a bit. It's more or less like a cake's icing sugar that has been dried because it's very tasty, very sweet.
The history of manna falling at Namba Adventist Station in the southern parts of Angola dates back to more than 50 years ago when there was a famine in this area. Villagers had to walk long distance to look for food, and those who harvested a little bit had to sweat it out to grind the maize meal into milli-milli, a very labor-intensive exercise, but the job had to be done. The mission station was destroyed during the civil war in Angola that lasted more than 20 years. When the mission station was destroyed by the rebels, manna stopped falling and only started falling again when the mission station was rebuilt. This is a living miracle, and all this shows us the presence of God. This Adventist mission station must be preserved by all means. On the day the mission station was dedicated to the Lord, manna fell like it has never happened before, and the community was terrified.
I was born in this place. I grew up in the same place, And from my childhood, I've been witnessing this miracle of manna falling. But something which really troubled me, and it was a very big miracle, it happened in 2010. That year, after the mission has been renewed, there was a big miracle happening where manna fell in such quantities which we have never seen before. It fell actually from beyond that side of the church. It fell even up to the mountain. All the ground was covered with manna. This happened in a time when the mission has been renewed, and people were marveling. They were wondering, why is it that manna never fell in such a way and it's falling in that way? People were afraid. He said we were to come out and call people to come and collect manna, but they refused. They were afraid because it was too much. The whole ground was covered with manna, so people were afraid coming out of their homes to collect it, and only little children came and collected it. When the information reached the union, Pastor Teodoro and Pastor Gilberto from Brazil and Pastor Sabino from Portugal, they came to witness the miracle because the manna was kept up to when they came, and they were shown what was really happening at this place. Manna fell as never before.
Sometime in the past, there was a famine around the area and people had no food. They decided to fast and pray to God. By the late Pastor Seke was the director of the mission station. He was away and only women were around, but no food. After 3 days of prayer, they received manna. A small girl came to this bush and found some things that looked like bread but white, and she met 2 men who said, "Take and eat." She ate and carried some back home. And when the parents saw her, they said, "What is it you are having in your hands?" She says, "I don't know, but I've eaten." They said, "Don't eat, throw." She said, "I've already eaten. The men that I met told me to eat." And they went to look for the men. They were not there. Those 2 men disappeared. And the people went and picked the manna and ate. And they were falling every day except on Sabbaths. And this manna has been falling these days. It falls Wednesdays and Fridays if it's not raining. Unfortunately today, when we came, it rained in the night. But manna fell. We still managed to find a bit of it, and as evidence that it was there.
I don't have words to describe how I feel now. I can actually quote what another pastor said when he preached about the manna which the Israelites saw in the desert. And he said, when they saw it for the first time, they just questioned, what is it? And that's the same question I have now. What is it? Because I can't even describe it. It's a miracle.
There is a miracle within a miracle regarding the falling of manna at Namba Adventist Mission Station. When the church members are not in good standing order with the Lord, the manna that falls is not white, but is blood-like and very bitter.
The falling of manna has to do with the believers also around. If in this congregation, one of the believers is not walking well with God, the manna that will fall that week will be bitter, and that until there is a revival among the members.
It's also good to consider that when Valente was the administrator of this place, there was this time when he was living in sin. For that reason, manna fell, but this manna was no longer white as it is today. It was white and red. It was red and white. And for that reason, people tried to test it, and it was tasting bitter because the administrator of the place was living in sin. So from that point, we got to know that this manna really is God who sends the manna to this place. However, it is sweet as it is today. It is taste as it is today only when God's children in this place stand in His word, live according to His principles. When someone somewhere among the people of this congregation live outward the church, when they live on their own way, not according to what the Lord approve, the manna will fall, but it won't be eatable one. It will be bitter manna, and it will even change the color. It will be red manna. This white manna only falls when God's children stand in His word, when God's children live according to what He approves.
Testimonies here are really moving, that the Lord is a witness to our characters. He takes record and is concerned of our lifestyle, how we relate in secret and in public. He sees whatever is hidden. And so, like in the times of old, when Israel sinned against God, calamities came upon the land of Israel. And the same manner here, when this congregation, one person, especially the leaders, go astray, they harbor some sin, many people will suffer.
As we live in the last days, the miracle taking place in South Angola Union is a living testimony that the Lord is there and still cares for His people. For 34 Degrees South, I'm Noel Spanda reporting from Namba in Angola.
Good afternoon, brethren. Today we were blessed with information from Brother Ivan. And while I sat listening to what he was presenting to us, I thought about his name. And sometimes we forget the persons that present things that could change our lives and help us to change other people's lives. So, Ivan Morris, I, be intelligent, be informed, know how to help who you have to help. V, be vigilant. Don't take it as a, well, maybe I'll go meeting, maybe I won't, maybe I'll help. I don't know if they ever help me, so I mightn't help them. We have to be vigilant because it's serious business. Be aggressive in our desire to serve God. And through this, we will be able to serve others. And what we have to do is now. And his last name more or less speaks for itself. Morris, more to give. Give bread for the hungry, give shelter to the poor, give clothes to the naked, as in Isaiah 58:7. So we thank you, Brother Ivan Morris, for all the information that you have given us today. And I pray that we would all decide whether or not we actually join ADRA, but that we would be able to do the same work in our communities and help others in some way. Because the bottom line is that we can share God through service. So, Brother Morris, just a token of our appreciation from San Fernando unit of the ADRA department.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Tell you all that. Whenever I come here, it's always something good for me. Everybody, all right, thank you very much. Okay.
This is from the deaconry. Tomorrow is cleanup day, and the head deacon would like all the members to be here for 8 o'clock in the morning to begin work on cleaning the sanctuary. 8 tomorrow morning right here at church. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters in Christ, let's stand. Now we are going to sing our it's not really our theme song, but it's a song that we sing at the end of our services, our meetings. Bind us together, Lord, bind us together with a cord that cannot be broken. Bind us together, Lord, bind us together, Lord, bind us together in love. There is only one God. There is only one. There is only one body. That is why we sing. So bind us together, Lord, bind us together with a cause that cannot be broken. Oh yes, bind us together, Lord, bind us together, Lord, bind us together in love. Please bind us together in love. Please bow your heads. With the grace of God and the Savior Jesus Christ, rest and abide with us now and forevermore. Amen. Thank you.